All right, here we go. And welcome everyone. My name is Katrina Kaler. I am the president and CEO of Artlink Inc. And we're very happy to be with you this evening or on another day if you're watching this recording in the future. The reason that we are convening this gathering tonight is not just to share information with you, but to hear your questions and to make sure you know all there is to know that is of interest to you as it relates to registering with Artlink to be an Articipant, how to make the most out of that registration, and to learn maybe some new things that are coming up on the horizon as we enter this very busy season of 2023. I'm joined by our Articipant liaison, Leslie Krieger. I just introduced you for you, but you can please introduce yourself, add your voice.
Hi, I'm Leslie, and if there's anybody on here who has not signed up to be an Artlink Articipant, I encourage you to do so. And I am the info@artlinkphx.org. So if you have any questions before signing up that we don't answer today, please email me and I will gladly answer any questions you have about being an Artlink Articipant. Hopefully today you ask all your questions and we answer them for you.
And we promise if there are good questions that we don't quite know the answer to, we will follow up with you. So let us proceed. We're going to start. I think there might be a mix of those of you who are currently registered with us as Articipants and maybe others who are dipping their toe into the waters to see what might be in it for you, which is completely understandable. So one of the reasons why we are actually scheduling this kind of conversation at this time of year is because, as I mentioned, spring of the year is a very busy season, principally because March is the month of Art Detour. And just for a little background, as a 501c3 nonprofit, before Artlink was formed as an organization, there was Art Detour. There were artists in downtown Phoenix who got together to host a studio tour, not just to invite people to discover their work and to enjoy their studios, but also to say that they were here. They were here in this place and they're contributing to this place and our community and our economy, frankly. And so ever since that day, then the organization was born. And so in the DNA of this organization is supporting artists, connecting with venues, connecting with organizations, and with businesses. These are the different, this represents the ecosystem of arts and culture. We know that no one category contributes and sustains arts and culture community on its own. It takes a community, it takes all of these different facets to make it grow and vibrant. And so we are here to create those links. So literally our mission is to connect artists, business, and community to keep the arts integral to our development. So again, it's not just the art, it's the community and economic development as well. And making sure that people are fully aware of the contribution that the arts bring to our everyday lives. So as we venture forth and look ahead to Art Detour, this becomes a prime time for representatives in the community like yourselves to register as Articipants. And so just so I can get it full, and this is a conversation obviously, but just so I can get a sense, how many of you in this conversation are currently registered as an Articipant?
I am Laura Ackerman.
Thank you, Laura.
Dave Dupree.
Chris
Dave.
Francis. Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Chris
That's all right.
Reagan, and Dave. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So about half of you. So about half of you right now, I would say. Okay. So I promise I won't go too far back for those of you who are currently registered. And I thought about doing this. I can simply do a quick screen share here and kind of walk through where we are in terms of the context of the organization, because we have the website here. This is artlinkphx.org. And on the homepage is the register here link. So if you're not yet registered and would like to take that next step, you can hit that link and it'll go to the Get Linked page. And for those of you who are registered, I'm not exactly sure when you registered or renewed, if you did that recently or several months ago, but this page has been updated to reflect all of the reasons why we think it's a good idea to register with us. And the main thing is this, as I share this information with you, to register as an Articipant is to help us develop a relationship with you. It helps us get to know your work. It helps us understand the events and activities that you engage in. And it also helps us if we have other opportunities available to promote those opportunities to you, so we can be a better link for all. And so on this page, you'll see, this is at the top of the page is the artist participant registration. There's essentially two subcategories of artist participation. One, if you're an artist, you can register for free. You don't have to pay anything, just register, get in the database, and that allows you to receive the additional newsletters that we send out to those who are registered with us, and be featured on in the calendar and so on. If you want a little more substantive benefit, including discounts to the upcoming Art Detour Gala on March 11th, be featured on social media, then we ask for an annual contribution. These rates have been held for many years. We boil it down to $5 a month. It's a contribution to Artlink, and we're grateful for that. But you do not have to pay Artlink in order to be registered, and you do not have to pay Artlink in order to be considered a part of the arts and culture community. We can't emphasize that enough. Down to the arts venue organization and business registration, same sort of thing. Everyone is invited. This is the ecosystem, right? The rest of the ecosystem is invited too. You do not have to pay to register. You can register right here and be an participant. If you would like to contribute and feature more prominently, receive the discounts to the gala, etc., you can click this button here and register there. So we try to make it as simple as possible. And if you have any questions about any of that, again, that's what Leslie is here to do as our participant liaison. She's here to answer those questions and maybe to point out some things along the way that will help make your experience more enjoyable. So I'm going to stop the screen share right there so we can have that conversation. So that's in terms of, I probably skipped over one thing. For those of you who are not registered quite yet, why Articipant? Why call it an Articipant? What's the deal with the Articipation? So several years ago, we actually came up with this term because number one, we're not a membership organization. What we wanted to do was to identify those in the arts and culture community who we could help serve. And without creating a way and a pathway for everyone in the community to say, yes, they are here. We knew people, but we knew there were people we didn't know. And so it's an invitation for people, again, to register, to declare themselves they are here, and we know who we are connecting with on a regular basis. Hence, the Articipant name is the fact that you are all the ones who are participating. You're producing the artwork, you're producing the events, you are the ones making the entire community come alive. We are here to support you. We are a service organization. We are here to enhance that, amplify that, and remind others that you are here and invaluable to our culture, simply put. So you have the Articipant, you have the registration link, and then Art Detour, as I mentioned, as our founding event. So Art Detour is coming up in March, and for all of March, March 1st through the 31st. It is a month-long celebration of arts and culture. And so a brief background there, Art Detour started as a weekend studio tour. Over several years later, it expanded to a longer weekend than a week. And then when COVID hit, we decided to, instead of to cancel, we expanded the event. And simply, it was for several reasons, but it boiled it down to two things. The month gave us more time. At the time, we weren't aiming for events of critical mass. We wanted to give people more time to experience the arts and culture offerings without having that public safety pressure. But also at the same time, it was a pivot point for the organization where we were very, very openly saying that we wanted to embrace all forms of arts and culture. Artlink traditionally had been connected to the visual arts. It was born in the visual arts, and for many years, that was the art form that it was about. And that changed several years ago, first with the inclusion of performing arts. Now we're obviously very inclusive of public art, I guess as a subset of visual art, but also culinary arts and fashion as well. We really want to embrace all of the art forms again, so we have those readily available reminders for the rest of the world that yes, whether or not they are interested in buying a piece, to put on their wall, or maybe they're not buying season tickets, but they are deciding what to wear on a daily basis. They are deciding to support the local restaurant owned by the chef owner, and they are artists. And we honor that. And we know that they're bringing flavor every day here in the Valley and throughout the state. And that's the last point I want to make. The geography of Artlink. Artlink was born in downtown Phoenix and slowly but surely branched out, not because we thought we could be all things to all people. It was the fact that not all artists are in downtown Phoenix.
Right.
And if we're going to be here to support the artists, we had to recognize for a myriad of reasons that the artist community was no longer, centered in downtown. Certainly much of the activity takes place in downtown, and we are here for that. First Fridays for many years, and into the future, we will be supporting that as much as we can. But when it comes to artists doing artist things, it's not artists who are just based downtown. So we made a decision informed by artists and really by request that artists outside of downtown and throughout the Valley wanted to connect and be a part of the conversation. So we made that step. And then slowly but surely it became noticeable that there are artists outside the Valley hungry for opportunities and connection as well. So as of a handful of years ago, we connect with artists from throughout Arizona. We're very happy to do so. The engagement from throughout Arizona is growing, and we're very excited about that. And we anticipate celebrating that as a part of Art Detour in March. Because in March, speaking of geography, we're also going to be doing a few detour day trips. We're going to be featuring some out-of-town destinations out of Maricopa County because we want to celebrate all of the culture of Arizona. And, it's inevitable when you talk about the culture of Arizona, you're also talking about history. You're talking about the indigenous people. You're talking about Old Pueblo of Tucson. I mean, there's so much, and we're all connected to that. And yes, the Valley is in the heart of that, but we know that those of us who are really invested in this culture are very aware that we are surrounded by really incredible and interesting experiences. So we want to highlight that. So that, in a nutshell, is the recap of where we've been, what the Articipant program is about. Our detour is in our sites, and we have expanded mediums that we're connecting with, and certainly the expanded geography that we're very excited about. So that is the rundown. And Leslie, did you have any notes following that initial review?
I think you hit it all. Thank you.
Thank you. She's writing down the notes to share. I'm just kidding. No, that's great. Thank you. So again, we are here for you. And we'd love to hear your questions and whatever phase you are in terms of registration. We'd love to hear even if you're just still contemplating registration. What are your questions about the value, why, how to go about it, how to get the most of it? What's our detour about? Who's going to kick us off?
Well, I have a question. I'm here in Scottsdale. I'm Laura. I'm part of the Laura and Adam show. We're a collaborative artist group here in Scottsdale. If I want to host an event that's going to coincide with the detour, how do I do that?
Great question, Laura. This probably applies to a lot of people here, actually.
I'm sure, yeah.
And thank you for joining us all the way from Scottsdale. See, we're connected now.
It's so far away. Yes.
I know, right? I know. And Leslie can chime in here, but it's very naturally a part of your registration. So when you officially register with us, have you registered yet?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So as a part of that response, once you register, part of that response, it will be an email that will connect you to our online calendar. And
Okay.
Leslie, do you want to speak to that a little bit? Oh, she's muted.
Sorry, I was actually pulling up, what dates we are looking at for detour. Laura, have you received an email? Because I actually don't feel like you are an Articipant. And if you are, I apologize. And
Well,
I'm
I'm certainly
actually
on Artlink. I may not have signed up for the Articipant.
Yeah.
And I certainly can do that because
love
I
that.
am curious about how we would set up an event here in Scottsdale with your organization.
Yeah, we so last year We quite often highlighted Scottsdale during their Thursday art walks.
Okay,
I don't know where your location is, if it's within that Thursday art walk.
probably.
footprint, but-
I'm South Scottsdale. Yeah, I'm near
Okay.
downtown, so.
Okay, yeah. So that was, a wonderful highlight that we were able to do last year. And then this year we are targeting a weekend as well that we can highlight. And as soon as I
Oh.
find that, then I can share that too.
Sure.
But yes, once you're an participant, you actually have full access to the calendar.
Good.
And any events that you have, even if it's on a day that we're not highlighting, and it's something that your artists decide that we want to do a Tuesday night. And this is year round, not just for
Sure,
Detour, but
sure.
anytime
Okay.
you highlight that on your calendar, and we're able to share that amongst our social
Oh,
media,
that'd be
amongst our
great.
website or our
I'm
newsletters.
just thinking a simple open house. That's
Yeah.
all. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we love that.
Great.
Thank you,
That was
Laura.
my
You're-
question.
Thank you, Laura, for your question. And I added in the chat there's the direct link to the participant registration page.
Okay,
If you don't have that already, but that's where you can register. And exactly that. So if we didn't have this conversation and you weren't quite registered, we wouldn't know that you want to be a part of Detour. So that's where
Right, I
that
know.
registration is really helpful. So we know how
Okay.
to make sure those who are interested are getting the information they need. And before I cut over to the raised hand, oh, she stepped away anyway. So I see questions in the chat. What are the benefits to joining as an artist who is still at university and just starting to move into the art community as a ceramicist? Bala, am I saying the name correctly? Bala? Okay. So, I mean, here's an essential thing, I would say. I was going to say it's a nice thing, but for us, it's an essential thing. When we talk about the calendar and our promotions and everything we're doing, the calendar that we're talking about, there's some exciting news on the horizon as it relates to the calendar. But even before that exciting news, we actually custom built the database for the calendar that we use to promote participants and everything that's happening in the community. And very much by design, we wanted a calendar that anyone could register with us and share the activities and events that they are hosting and connected to. And so what does that mean? That sounds like a calendar, right? But oftentimes when you see an arts and culture calendar, it features, the big events, or the big destinations, or the very traditional arts and culture destinations, which are certainly wonderful things. And we definitely want to include them, and we do. But what our calendar does is it allows for an individual artist to also upload your own events. So if, as a ceramicist or an artist in any medium, if you are involved in an exhibition, if you are opening your studio to the public on a certain day, if you are doing a virtual workshop where you are connecting with people online, every one of these activities can be uploaded to our calendar. And as a part of our detour, and as Leslie mentioned beyond, we will promote that. As you register this with us, especially for our detour, there's such a number of activities happening on a daily basis. We can't, because there's so many, we can't guarantee that every single event will be featured on social media. We can't guarantee that just because there's a limited bandwidth there. However, most and many are. I mean, in past years, I think we were able to connect with every single registered participant on social media and promote you at least once throughout the month. And so I really, again, encourage you to register if you haven't already, and think about these kinds of activities that you want to engage in. And if it's something where, as an individual artist, you don't want to take on the responsibility of producing your own event, or maybe you have a studio where you don't want people coming in, it's understandable. So that's where, with a little time, you have time to be creative. Think about the coffee shop and where you might show your work. Think about, I think we've had a yoga studio in the past host artists' work. And sometimes it just takes some creative thinking about where you can show and where you can connect with people. And again, it could be a conversation, it could be a spoken word, it could be a performance, a recorded performance that's literally shown at a certain time, and that's listed on the calendar. So I know that just maybe that doesn't relate to the ceramicist question, but it can be that simple. On any given day, there are a significant number of arts and culture activities that anyone can experience. And Art Detour is the time that we remind the world of that fact. And it's because you are creating and you are here, you are present. Without you, it'd be a very boring world. So all of those, every activity we're talking about counts. It all gets promoted. And then, so I hope that answers your question a little bit, and I'm happy to answer any follow-ups you have. And then Robert, you have a question. Do you have to register every year, or are participants renewed every year automatically? There is a renewal process annually, just once a year. And the reason is, number one, it's a software thing. But also, honestly, even if it wasn't a software thing, I'm not sure if we had the power to change it, I'm not sure we would, Robert. And often because things change. And, you know, if people move, or they have a different type of focus, or maybe even their medium or the way they promote themselves changes. And so at a minimum, the annual renewal really helps that fresh engagement, and it helps us make sure that we are promoting you the way you want to be promoted currently. We understand it's an admin thing though, but we do appreciate the time it takes for you to do that. And then will this help artists connect with other events that they can showcase their own art or exhibit with? You know, maybe Leslie, the art board comes to mind. Would you agree? Would that be a connection for this kind of opportunity?
Well, Articipating does help connect with other events, yes. And Art Detour is such a highlight and such a promotional tool for you. You know, as you know, it's kind of free promotional tool from us to you. And it does also kind of highlight, as we have over 150 participants that are businesses or organizations that are hosting events. So if they're chiming in and paying attention to what's going on during Art Detour, then yes, it definitely would help you connect with those organizations and events that are happening. But also just knowing that they are participants as well, it allows you to see them and know who they are. And so, you know, it's a tool for you to get out and reach out to them and say, hey, I saw you during Art Detour and I'd love to get involved. And as an Articipant, we also have our mixed media happy hours that, again, are another connection to meeting those organizations or those businesses or other artists. We've had so many artists that have become collaborators in projects together because of being Articipants and being at these events together that are hosted through Artlink. So I say yes.
And the mixed media happy hours is a great point. We just had one last week at the Great Arizona Puppet Theater. And thank you, Jeffrey, for your hospitality. We had a wonderful time there. I would say over 70 people, I think, attended that one. And yet it's honestly, those are the kind of connections that we really want to foster. And so it's really meeting people in the room, and maybe it doesn't turn into an immediate connection you know, for something 2 weeks from now, but maybe 2 months from now, you know, something, you know, clicks in. And the Art Board newsletter that goes out twice a month is chock full of calls, auditions. It shares, you know, art supporting businesses who are engaged in arts and culture things. So it really is, I mean, it's a treasure, really, to read that every couple of weeks throughout the month. So that's another good way to get connected. I'm going to hop over to Linda before I continue in the chat. Hi, Linda.
Good evening. So I just scribbled to Mikey because, yeah, if I miss one of those art boards, I like really, you know, kick myself, because like right now I've got all these deadlines this week and next week and so many things to enter. So thank you. That's awesome. And then so I have to check to make sure my Articipant has been renewed. When you say it's annual, is it like the beginning of January, or is it when you signed up, or?
It's based on when you first registered.
Okay, so I have to,
Yeah.
I don't.
And Linda, we actually have it set where it'll send you, it'll actually email you a reminder that your email or that your participation's coming up in a month.
But
and then
you
it'll
know
give
how
you another
emails,
reminder.
you know what happens sometimes, emails get, you know, lost sometimes. So if I don't see it, then next thing I know, because sometimes I miss something and, you know, it's like, oh, I never heard about that, but I just
Right.
never read the email. So, okay. So what I want to get back to my question. So during the pandemic, I was posting virtual events, and I had a bunch of them. I can't remember now if it was just last year or last year and the year before, or it was 2 years. I don't even remember anymore. All I know is zip, crickets, you know, and even though it was virtual world, I didn't get a response. So I'm assuming I shouldn't even attempt to do that again. In the world of now, people are being out there physically. That's a question.
Is it? Okay.
Sorry. This is my first language, believe it or not.
I mean, it's, you know, it's, you know, I mean, you can look at it a number of different ways. I mean, it's, you know, virtual. I mean, there are fewer virtual experiences happening now. Obviously, we can get out and about now, thankfully. So there's less of an emphasis on virtual.
Right.
But I mean, but think about it too. I mean, or record it. I mean, it's, I mean, think, you know, I wouldn't just like dismiss it entirely. That's what I would say. If that's the most accessible thing, if that's an effective thing in terms of how you communicate with an audience, then use that and think about sharing it. Think about even if no one attends that particular event, record it, share it later. It becomes content for your own feed. It'll allow us to share it later. Maybe think about the time of day, you know, it might happen, or, you know, the time of the month. And I'm not saying this to convince you to try again. And because I would, you know, I don't want you to, you know, be in a position where people aren't totally engaged in what you're doing after you prepare something like that. But I wouldn't dismiss it entirely. It is a tool that is available to you as an artist to connect with people digitally and on social media. So it could be good content as well.
Okay.
Mikey has a question about deadlines, and I think if what you're asking, if for our promotions, our goal is to have all of the promotions listed on the calendar by February 15th, so that we can share to a broader audience, you know, as leading up to Art Detour. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And a part of that is our PR effort. So as we go out with that programming announcements, we will highlight some activities that are taking place throughout the month that kind of represent, you know, the whole, you know, they're visual, the different art mediums, different times of the month, different types of experience, and even different types of participant stakeholders, and just to show that different engagement. So that's kind of our target for that.
I have a tip as well for promotion. When you're adding your events to the calendar, if you could, two things. I know a lot of people will add like a poster to the calendar. And when I'm adding events to the newsletter, posters are, you know, end up being a very small thumbnail, and you can't really read the words, you know, within the poster. So when you're adding your events to the calendar, if you can add the poster, of course, because that's shared, you know, in different ways, but also the image that you're using separately from the poster with the details of who the artist is and what the art piece is, that will really allow us to do more promotion with that, you know, especially if we're talking to the PR groups and they want to use just art images, as long as we have permission from your artist that you're, you know, the artist that we're using the art with, and we can give them credit. That would be super helpful for more promotional opportunities.
That's a really key tip. I can't emphasize that enough, actually. When it comes to, I mean, I would really, I mean, with one part of your brain, think about Artlink as a part of your marketing strategy. Because I mean, we're here to help put a megaphone to what it is you're doing. And so as we go out with our communications and even working with our PR team, and social media team and promoting all that you're doing, the image that we carry forth is the image that you are providing to us. And so the beautiful images of artwork are the number one requested image that we get. And so if we can provide that as provided by you, citing you, giving the artist credit, that's a win for everyone involved. And Mikey, did we answer your second question specific to Art Detour as a venue?
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I was just wondering what the deadline was, and we just need to tag Art Detour in the tags. Is that correct, or something like that? On Pug.
On the calendar, yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Okay, Erica, if we facilitate monthly shows for other artists at a specific establishment, should we create a separate Articipant account to register those events, or can we submit them via our own personal artist account? I've been encouraging artists to register their own events, but sometimes they say they couldn't figure it out or say they thought they did, but it didn't show up. Okay, so I know this is more of a Leslie question, but yes. So Leslie, go ahead.
Well, the short answer to that, if you have more, you can definitely, but the short answer to that is still encourage them. And if they get stuck, info@artlinkphx.org. I am glad to talk anybody through Articipation, getting them registered. I can even help them over the phone. I know that we definitely have some artists that are not on computers. And so the language that computers speak are not theirs. So I have registered them, just talking to them on the phone, and I get them set up, and, that way they're good to go. And I don't want to put this out publicly, but again, with those specific artists that need a little extra help in the computer land, if they can get me their images and get me their information about the event, I am glad to help them get it up on the calendar. I would hate to miss an event just because somebody, isn't on a computer. So info@artlinkphx.org.
That's the love at the heart of the operation right there. And I want to second Robert's comment about giving Leslie a shout out. I'm so happy to hear how she helped you get Vault Gallery at ASU online. That's awesome. We couldn't have a better Articipant liaison. She knows the ins and outs. She knows all the little details. No, there are no dumb questions. Number one, she's heard it all, and they're not dumb. There's just a lot of little details. There's a lot of details in all the things, right? And so we want to make sure everyone is really connected. In fact, just in terms of understanding, when you register, there's that extra step of sharing those images, and Leslie literally gets your profile set up on the database to get you going, to get you on a runway in the future iteration of that calendar and database. That won't be necessary. It'll be easier to get that up and going faster. But she's done a fantastic job. So Leslie, thank you for that. And for all the things you do.
My pleasure.
And so I just also want to encourage, I'm going back to the questions about the different registrations. So the destinations are, that venue, that organization, that business Articipant. That's one part. The artist participating in the exhibition, that's the other part. And so yes, all of those constituencies can register, and then the promotion becomes that much stronger. We've had artists who register with us who are showing at venues who are not registered, but still that show is promoted, even just because it's the artist who submitted that experience, which is a really beautiful thing. We encourage the destinations to certainly register, so there's even stronger support. But again, the power of the artist is visible. So are there other questions to delve into? Hi, Sue.
Hi. I am part of the Central Arizona Flute Ensemble called Cafe Flutes, and I'm also an artist. And I believe I'm registered as an Articipant for Cafe Flutes. And we have been working with interdisciplinary music and art. So on March 4th, we have an event at the Wham Gallery where we're playing live music, specifically paired with some of the art that's going to be on display. And we have a humanities people who are going to be discussing this with the audience. So it's interdisciplinary, it's collaborative, it doesn't fit into boxes, but it's also kind of exciting. So I have a couple of questions about that. It was kind of hard to check which boxes and which category and exactly how to promote this. It was a little, I didn't see it to be an easy task. And I'm wondering if you have some suggestions, if this is making any sense to you. And also how we can connect with other artists and do art music things in other venues. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We love that. We are so, I mean, so we get so excited. We're so passionate about the connection between the mediums, the cross-pollinating between visual and performing arts and other connections. We love that. And so it's understandable that it would be hard to find that one, classification of sorts. Just generally, and this is where Leslie to get into more specifics, go with the primary, don't leave out the secondary, right? I mean, and it helps to pick one, but other things can be promoted along the way. Just because you pick the one doesn't mean you're excluded from the other. And then, as a group, if you are looking to program events and activities and looking for visual artist connections, it's another reason to register, because that's the kind of invitation that we can promote to the visual arts community, as an example. It might be mentioned in the art board, the newsletter we were talking about, maybe on social media. But Leslie, what are your thoughts?
I was just going to compliment if Sue, if you were the one that put the event on the calendar, it read very clearly to me. I knew exactly that it was a combo between music and art. So good job. Yeah, might have stressed you out a little bit, but to the public, it looks fantastic.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that feedback. I truly had no idea. It took a lot of thinking to figure it out. I appreciate that. Thanks, Leslie.
Yeah, there have definitely been events that I've seen posted, and I will maybe go in there and tweak a little bit of it just for the same reason. Like I feel like there's a missing piece to the event, and I want to make sure that it's getting the proper exposure. So yeah, you did good.
That's exciting. That's March 4th. What time is that event? I guess I could look at the calendar. My bad.
It was 2 to 3:30.
Oh, that's great. I would love that. Thanks for sharing that, Sue. And for posting.
No, it's good. It's pretty darn exciting. I haven't seen anything like it before, and this is our second attempt. We learned a lot after our first attempt last year. So it's from a grant from the Arizona Humanities. So it's kind of the 4 nonprofits who are getting together, arts nonprofit groups who are sponsoring it together.
That's lovely. Are those groups listed in the? I'll just forget. Never mind. Don't even answer. I'm going to look at the calendar. I'll get more information.
Yes, they are listed. Yes, and yes, and we have our website and all that stuff. So yeah, everybody, please come. It'll be really good.
That's great. Thank you. Are there other questions?
Yeah, so just piggybacking on what Sue's saying, and maybe I wasn't listening clearly, but if there's all these different organizations, then each one could do its own listing, right? If each one is an Articipant, they could each
can register.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can more bang for your buck. It's the same event, but it can be listed 4 different times by different organizations. So if I'm like, keyed into the flutists, I would go, it's a flutist event. And then it's piggybacking with the other ones. That's just marketing.
Exactly. Those different perspectives might connect with different people.
Yeah, there's an example on March 4th, as a matter of fact. The Melrose Street Fair is happening that day. And so the Melrose Street Fair is being promoted by the Merchants Association. But one of our artists, Keely, has a tent at the street fair. So she has posted that she will be at the street fair.
Right.
So same event, but they're posted differently from different perspectives so that you know more about the event.
So does that mean that if somebody looks at the calendar, the Art Detour calendar, they'll see 4 things slotted in, but it, you know, like, so with Sue's event, it would show up in the calendar 4 different times, but through the main name of which organization posted it?
Yes. Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
not conflicting,
No,
it's duplication, which is fine, or
right, and
quadruplication.
and thinking that through, I mean, you're going into the marketing strategy, right? We're just talking about Sue's event.
Yeah,
without
but
her.
it could be for anybody.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, we're with you, Sue. So, I mean, if you had 4 different organizations, promoting that event, I mean, think about what each organization is promoting. So, the opening line may be different, the image may be different. I mean, that's good strategy, right? Mhm.
I think it's nice to be able to, highlight what your contribution to that event is
Mhm.
going to be. Because not everybody's individual arts, but maybe, I love flutes, but I don't like visual arts. So they're going to go anyway because they read more about the flute experience that's going to happen, or vice versa, that experience is going to be what pulls you in. And then, like, oh, I can go for the flutes, but then I can see if my idea of visual arts has changed, whatever.
Mhm. And to take that one level deeper, and just again using Sue's event as an example. Thank you, Sue. I mean, I don't want to show my ignorance, and I apologize in any way. But how many people know that there is a flute organization?
Right.
And so, so the other part of this calendar is that it is very clear about who's involved. And so if you are the entity or participant posting that information, it will link back to you so people can see your profile and understand who it is that is making this contribution. So it's not just reading the event. There's an ability to go deeper and to get to know the stakeholders of the community, which is a really key point for us, obviously. So the event isn't the end all, it's the who that is making it possible that we want connected to that information. Are there other questions? All right, Leslie, do you have any additional notes?
I was hoping I did,
Yeah, one question. Oh,
but I
sorry.
don't at this particular moment. I feel like I thought of something just a minute ago, but so if anybody wants to keep talking, I'll hopefully remember.
I think Sue has a question.
I have a question.
Oh, I do remember
From
it.
your point of
After you,
view,
Sue.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
From your point of view, what is the most underutilized benefit from Artlink has that most people don't know about or don't use to the max?
Great question, right?
The calendar is the most underutilized tool. It is the best tool that people aren't using enough of.
Mhm.
Truly.
Truly.
It's a wonderful calendar. And the fact that you can log in yourself and upload your events. And if, something changed, a time, a day, you ended up getting a better image, you can change that out right away. Half the time before, the large promotion goes out. So it definitely, and your profile, somebody just the other day was looking for Indigenous artists to help them, with a car wrap. And so I was like, oh, let me go on to our artist profiles, and, the tag, people haven't tagged themselves correctly yet. So I, dug a little deeper to find what they were looking for, but would be so easy if people just tagged their profiles correctly to say, I'm a teaching artist, I'm a, ceramicist, I'm a woodworking, whatever that is. It really helps us if, whoever's asking, it's not really a big enough project to do a call for art. It's just something that they want to, find a couple artists to do something with. If we had those tags logged in, or you have your most up-to-date art put on your profile, it really would help others find you faster to do, more projects.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's definitely the most underutilized and the most resourceful piece that we've built for
Mhm.
artists.
I mean, there are ways, as Leslie just mentioned, that, I mean, people come to Artlink with questions. And again, we have over, I mean, currently there are over 1,200 artists registered in the debate and database from throughout Arizona, which is really fantastic, really fantastic. And so people understand that this is a resource. And so as we promote it, and so they come to us, and if they don't find it right away, they may ask us. And literally, I mean, getting your information in the system, if anything, you're promoting it to, half a dozen people in our office who people talk with on a regular basis, who ask, and they ask us questions. I mean, do you know this kind of murals? Do you know this? And we don't do a lot of, you should talk to this one person. It's like, here are a number of people who fit, the genre that you're looking for, and then they can investigate further. So that I totally agree that is the underutilized resource. It's a great question. And I also want to look ahead to a couple of things. This calendar is going to get a lot easier to use, and it's going to be promoted even more, not just via Art Detour, but via some partners that we are pulling together in support of this tremendous effort. It's been a long time in coming, and we are on the cusp of making some really great strides in positioning this calendar as the go-to arts and culture calendar for Art Detour and beyond. So we really do encourage you to be present in the coming weeks as we launch. We'll be sharing more information very, very soon. And then also I wanted to mention, because I mentioned it as a part of the Articipant registration, the Art Detour Gala. You're all invited. As registered Articipants, you receive discount pricing to the Art Detour Gala, which is Saturday, March 11th. It's the 10th annual version of that event. It is the arts and culture party of the year. It is not boring. It is not a sit down. It is not a dinner. We're not serving chicken. It is a cocktail reception. And in the heart of it is an art exhibition that is produced by members of the Artlink Artist Council and artists that they invited to collaborate with. These artists were selected via an open call to artists, and there may be some additional guest artists who will be participating in the coming weeks. But for this 10th year, we are looking forward to a tremendous celebration. It will be here at Park Central, where Artlink is headquartered in Midtown Phoenix, and we hope you can all attend. So keep an eye out for those announcements. The discounts are deep for registered Articipants, because if you're not there, it's not an Artlink party. So that's what it's all about. So we hope you can attend. And let's see, is there another question from Monica? Sorry, it's a little bit late. I want to know if you can participate as an Articipant for Art Detour, even if you're not in the art district. Absolutely. Absolutely. Monica, I'll keep this brief, but we did talk about geography, and you're most welcome to register, especially from Northwest Phoenix. No issue at all. We are not merely centered on downtown or central Phoenix any longer. We're connecting with participants throughout the valley and artists throughout the state. So please feel free to register. And Leslie Krieger on the call here is at info@artlinkphx.org to answer those questions and more. And we really appreciate you all spending time with us tonight. And Leslie, did you have any final comments to share?
I remembered what I was going to say, and it kind of goes back to the artists talking about hosting events at other locations for showcasing. And I just want to put a key in on when you're creating an event on the calendar, there is a spot on there that asks, does this event have a different address than its associated location? So, currently your address is associated with your profile. So you would always say yes, and then put in that address if you're at a coffee house or, a different gallery or whatever, put that in. But then also at the end of that, it'll ask additional admission information. And that's where you would say, I'm hosting at insert, location here, and give the name of, what other venue you're at, just to kind of clarify for your audience that, it's a different address and I'm at such and such gallery this week, and it just kind of helps get people over to your space. So it's a really nice feature. And if you use it correctly, it's really helpful for the audience to understand where you're at. And just want to key that in.
Awesome. Thank you. And don't forget, these postings also help you with your marketing, and that SEO is great. We don't do this to make it an audience capture, it's to connect people to you. So again, we encourage you to upload your information. So once again, we really thank you for your time. We value your time. Again, if you think of questions later, please feel free to reach out. And we really appreciate you listening, asking your great questions. It helps us too, and we're always learning. And so we want to continue to learn. So we appreciate the conversation. I hope you all have a great evening, and we look forward to seeing you in the coming weeks, hopefully during Art Detour. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.